What's up, poker people? My name is Wes, and this is my poker vlog. Today we're playing a 5-5 no limit hold'em cash game session at Texas Card House. I'm gonna buy into the game for $5,000. This is a game that I host here at Texas Card House, which just means I text all my friends and we all come and play, and we get to make up all the rules for whatever game we want to play. In our game, you can buy in for whatever you want, and you can straddle for any amount. So it ends up being a pretty fun game. Wish me luck. As I mentioned, you can straddle any amount in this game, and the button is putting out a $50 straddle. The action is going to start on the small blind, and it's going to be 50 to go. We get a call, some more calls. Everybody wants to see the flop. I even want to see the flop for 50 with 4-5 suited. We go 6 ways to the flop in this hand. Oh, 2 pair. What a good start. All right, let's see what happens. I'm definitely going to be putting money in this pot. We have a bet of 200 from the middle position player and a fold. And then we have a call. I'm going to put a big raise in here. I make it 800 to go. In this scenario, when you have bottom 2 pair, especially when there's a flush draw on board, you want to play this hand fast. You want to charge these guys to draw to whatever it is that can beat you, and I guarantee you they have some way to beat you. We got 1 fold, we got 2 folds, and we scoop the pot. It's a good start to the night. Kelly, you have a unique opportunity to put $20 out there, because then it's going to go 40, 80, 160.
Because of peer pressure. Well, less pressure, but yeah. But I also know they're going to go absolutely nuts.
Are we really doing 160?
Yes. This is a unique opportunity. As you can see, we allow the double, triple, quadruple, quintuple straddle in our game. We give under the gun straddles precedence so that this kind of craziness can happen. So in this hand, it's going to be 160 to go just to see the flop. Get a few folds. Action's now over to the small blind. He seems to be thinking about it, and he just calls. I wouldn't do this myself, but I can think of some hands that he might want to do this with. Let's just say this is his range, where he raises all the hands in blue, calls with all the hands in red, and folds all the hands in white. It's not a horrible strategy. I would always just be raising, but let's just assume he has one of those middling hands in red. Middle position player decides to raise it up to $440. Punish the limper. The small blind goes all in for $2,000. I don't think he's doing this with King Jack suited, Queen Jack suited. So I'm gonna guess he was actually slow playing and actually has pocket aces. If the middle position player has a marginal hand, he's in a really tough spot at this point. Does he really want to call it all off with, say, pocket 9s or pocket 10s? He does decide to fold, and the small blind shows his hand. What is that, aces? Pocket deuces? What is this guy doing? He just shoved all in for $2,000 with pocket deuces? Okay, this is going to be a good game. The other player said he folded pocket 4s, which was why he made it $440. In this hand, we have a triple straddle, so you have the $10, $20, $40 straddle going on. Bunch of players folds around to the button, who decides to limp in. I don't recommend this, but whatever. Small blind folds, and the big blind looks like he's gonna make a move. He raises up to $150. I look down at ace queen suited, and I'm definitely gonna call this. I already have 20 out there. I have to call 130, and I call. Straddle folds, and it's over to the button, and he decides he's going to call and see a flop as well. So we're 3-handed to the flop. Completely miss, of course. I do have a backdoor spade draw and 2 overs, and now the big blind checks. I was kind of surprised. I don't know what hand he's raising that he wants to then check, but I did check behind. And it's over to the button, who starts playing with his chips, and he decides to bet 200. The button only limped pre-flop, so it's very unlikely that he's sitting on a hand like 10s or jacks or any overpair, to be honest. And now the pre-flop raiser calls. I could definitely call here and hope to hit an ace or a queen, but what if the big blind just has ace king and an ace is no good for me? I decided to go a different route and I check raised to 800. This only has to work about half the time to be profitable, and it's really hard for either of these guys to have a huge hand. The button folds, the big blind asks, how much is it? And then he just rips it in for $3,000. Well, I can't call that, so I fold. I guess we just got caught bluffing into aces, but if he did have aces, I don't really like the way he played it. He didn't give me a chance to bluff off any more money, and I'm only ever calling if I have him beat. I think it'd be better if he just called, and then maybe I'll do something crazy on the turn. Nevertheless, he won the hand, and I'm down $800. Good for him. Please check out my website, razorclothing.com, for poker t-shirts, hats, and hoodies. This hand also starts with a $40 triple straddle. First player to put money in this pot makes it $80 to go. I don't know if he didn't realize we had the $40 straddle on, or if he just thought this was a good hand to min raise, but I don't really recommend this. Too many good players at this table who are willing to put pressure on people. You gotta raise more than that. So hijack raises to 80. I call 80, and the $40 straddle calls 80. We got 3 players going to a flop. I have Queen 10 suited. Now I miss again, but I have 3 to a straight flush. I'm not just gonna be folding this hand right away. We both check over to the pre-flop raiser, I guess. He bets 105, which is completely reasonable for me to call. And I'm gonna call, try to spike some sort of draw on the turn and get a lot of money into the pot. We go 3 ways to the turn. Boom, that is the perfect turn card. I might even be check raising this card, but I check and it goes check, check. What is that? A king of clubs? No, no. Okay, I guess I have a chance to bluff at it. Nobody seemed like they had a king or even a pair prior to this. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to bluff at this. So I bet $280. Neither player seemed like they had a king or even a pair at all. It's really unlikely that somebody flopped a set and slow played it. They would have had a chance on the turn to maybe bet, but neither player did. So I'm pretty sure this bluff will get through. And he makes it $700. I guess that's a good thing because I don't have a hand. I'd really hate to see this raise if I actually had a jack or something, but I guess it's good that I only have queen high because I'm going to be folding when it gets around to me. And I fold. I show everyone the stick draw that I missed, and nobody seems to care. Bye-bye $280. We have a quintuple straddle of $160, followed by a bunch of folds. Middle position player makes it 400 to go. I'm out, and we're gonna watch this hand from the sidelines. So the straddler calls 400. We have heads up action going to a flop. It's a low flop, somewhat coordinated. You kind of think at least the raiser wouldn't have a hand that really connects with this unless he had some sort of ace wheel hand. The caller could have anything. So the initial raiser makes it $375 to go. We're now on to the straddler. Remember, he called pre-flop. He didn't have to call a lot. He could have a wide range, and he just shoves all in for effectively 2.5K. Although the hijack went all in for $5,000, it's actually the other player who's all in at risk for about $2,500. What kind of hand would he do this with? He could have a 4, but he could also have a pretty big flush draw, or even a straight draw. The original raiser just shows his cards, king, queen of diamonds, while he's making a decision, and I'm just wondering why hasn't he snap called? He's talking about how the other player could have a 4. I guess he thinks that maybe he could be up against a 4 and that his overs may not be good, but then he says maybe my overs are just good. He ends up deciding to fold, and the other player shows him a smaller flush draw. Oh my god. They decide to run it out to see what would happen, and the queen on the turn almost locks it up, but a gut shot would have still been good for the hijack. If you go back and watch, when the player shows king queen, the other player puts a stack of blacks out, almost to reinforce that he's got them covered. It's pretty funny to watch after knowing what the hands are. This hand has a boring old $20 straddle, and the player from earlier makes it $80, which is way more appropriate at this straddle amount. He gets one caller. It folds around to me. I look down at ace 10 suited, definitely going to see a flop. I see no reason to 3-bet this hand, and I call. We're going to go 3 ways to the flop. Looking for some diamonds, looking for some Broadway cards. Nope. I go ahead and check. Now it's over to the pre-flop raiser. It's a pretty dry board. I would expect he would bet any of his pairs on this flop. He could also bet any of his ace high missed hands on this flop, and he makes a bet of 125. He gets called by the cutoff. I don't really see how I'm going to win this hand, so I let it go, but we're going to watch this action. This is an interesting hand. Turn is an ace. I would have hit that card. The pre-flop raiser's thinking. Looks like he wants to keep betting. He bets 300. I would assume at this point that he has hit that ace. Maybe he has ace king or ace queen or even ace jack. And we see a river. It's a brick. No draws come in, and he checks. The cutoff goes all in for $1,100. The pre-flop raiser is going to go into the tank here, so let's talk about what kind of hand this guy could be going all in with. I really don't see any draws that could have missed. He could have a king, he could have an ace. I think it's most likely that he has a 2-pair combo like ace 8 or maybe some sort of weird king 3 hand. He shouldn't have a set in this spot. You think he would have raised earlier. The pre-flop aggressor is really agonizing over this bet. He doesn't know what to do. I'm assuming he's got an ace and can't let it go, but he does fold. The other player shows king 5 of clubs. Was that 2-pair? No, that's just a king. Oh my god, an ace was good. The kid's going crazy. He actually gets up from the table and has to take a walk around the room to settle down. What a good bluff. I love it. Okay, onto this hand. We have a $100 button straddle. This guy really likes to create action. The under the gun player makes it $320 to go. It folds around to me and I look down at ace queen offsuit. I don't really want to 3-bet against the under the gun raiser, so I just call. Let's see what the button does. I'm okay if he gets in the pot. And he decides to go ahead and call. 3 ways to the flop. We got a $1,000 pot. I hit an ace. It's a good start. I feel pretty good about this. The under the gun player has between 1,000 to 2,000 in his stack. If he ends up having ace king, he's just going to get us in this hand. But he checks. So I bet $400. I think this is a good spot to just bet. See if you can get called by a worse ace. Hands like kings and queens are just going to fold, but they're not going to put a lot of money in the turn unless they hit a set anyway. So I bet 400 and he calls 400. The pot now is bigger than what he has in his stack. So even though the flop bet was only 400, this is an opportunity to get his stack in the middle. He checks to me and I rip it all in. This puts him all in for $1,400. I have him well covered, so he's the player at risk. I would assume if he had an ace, he would have just called by now. Oh, he does call. I show ace queen and he calls for a king. I asked him after the hand if he had pocket kings and he said no, he was calling for a king for a chop. If that's true, then he could only have ace deuce because every other ace would still have outs to beat me other than ace deuce. Unlike previous episodes, I'm actually not stuck right now. I'm doing pretty good in this game. There's a lot of action. In this hand, I straddled a $40, so it's a triple straddle, the 10, the 20, the 40. A player makes it 100. Got a fold. There's another call of 100. And I look down at 7-8 offsuit. Not a great hand, but I'm going to see a flop for 60 more. Oh, a flop 2 pair. Wow, what a scary board though. But if you've watched any of these episodes, you know that I don't really soft play or slow play hands. I'm going to be putting in a lot of money with 2 pair on this board. If they have a bigger hand, we're going to find out. All right, we've got a bet of 100. We're going to be raising that guy. Oh, we got a call. I'm definitely going to raise here, but I'm not going to make it huge just in case. I make it $400 to go. Raising here lets me take over the betting lead. I might get check 2 on the turn, and I can get a free river. The first player calls, as does the second. We're going to see a turn card. The Jack of Hearts. Look at this board. This is not a board you want to have 2 pair on. I do have the 8 of Hearts, which is a straight flush draw, but that's about it. I can always make a full house with a 7 or 8, but there's just no way this is the best hand anymore. And now that the pre-flop raiser goes all in for $1,000, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be folding this hand. I just don't think I can call and hope to improve. And now that the other player's all in, even though it's for less, I'm getting out of the way. And this is the part of every all-in cash game hand where 2 players who always run it twice have to discuss whether they're going to run it twice. And they're going to run it twice. Queen of diamonds up top, 10 of diamonds below. Let's see what these guys have. These hands are actually backwards. The pre-flop raiser has pocket aces. The player next to me has Jack 7 of diamonds. So he flopped a 7 with a gut shot, turned 2 pair, while pocket aces just had 1 pair but the nut flush draw. Jack 7 takes the top, and they actually split the bottom because it made a straight on the board. So Jack 7 is going to get 3/4 of the pot. The rest of this episode, we're going to be 4 and 5 handed because this is the end of the night, but this is when the players are playing the loosest, and you can have some very interesting hands. I put the $25 straddle on this hand, and we go 4 ways to the flop with ace 8 offsuit. I hit an 8. I wonder if that's good enough. Small blind checks, under the gun checks. The next player checks. So I bet 50. We get snap called by the small blind. The other players fold, so we're going to be heads up. Oh, and we turn an 8. That's the best card we could have hoped for. He could have a king, but now I'm hoping he has an 8. If he has a king, I'll probably still call a bet here. I bet 125. I think it's a good sizing that a king can call, a flush draw can call, and clearly an 8's gonna call. He check raises to $400. We have the nut 8 in this hand. I don't really want to scare him away though. I'm just gonna call and then bomb the river. The flush draw comes in on the river. This is only a bad card in the sense that I can't bet as much as I really want to and get called by a bad 8. But I'm definitely gonna bet this river. I'm not really worried that he has a flush because he check raised a turn, which should mean he'd have to have the 8 of clubs with another club to have a flush. So I can value bet this river, I just can't bomb it the way I had planned. I probably would have bet 8 to 900, but now I'm just gonna bet 550 and I expect him to call and show an 8. He makes the call. I show my hand. He's disgusted. He does have the 8 of clubs, but only 1 club. We got him. Let's take a look at my stack at this point in the session. Each stack of black is $2,000. So we've got 2,000, 4,000, about 2,500 in greens and 300 in reds, plus a couple extra black chips. So right about 7,000 in my stack. You might be curious why I'm showing a hand where I have Queen 4 offsuit. But once you see this flop, it all makes sense. This was a limped hand on my button straddle, so I got to see the flop for free, and I flopped 2 pair. Small blind checks, I go ahead and bet $20. Let's see if we can get a pot going. I get check raised, much to the surprise of the dealer and myself. I don't really see any reason to not re-raise here. Let's just get more money in the pot, and maybe he just has a queen or king jack. I make it $215. He checks his cards again and decides to call. We're building a nice pot here with 2 pair. Oh, queen on the turn is interesting. It doesn't really improve my hand relative to his hand, but it does mean if he makes a straight, I'm never gonna lose to him. He checks, and I bet $300. Man, if this guy's got a queen, I'm gonna make so much money in this hand. Please have queen jack, please have queen jack. He check raises to $900 and I have a full house. He definitely has a queen. Oh my God, what if he has queen 10? Oh no. Does he have queen 10? If this guy has queen 10, I might just lose all my money on the river. I'm just gonna call. Let's see what happens. Oh, a 10. Wait, now I have queens full of 10s. Oh, what a weird hand. This is a weird hand.
It is. I mean, just check it down. I mean, it's so stupid.
Look.
Ridiculous.
Wow, what a river card.
The
Oh my
How does he not raise that turn, dude?
You just saved
Like,
your whole
what the
stack of Rooney. You just saved your whole stack of Rooney.
Wow. Going to...
That's disgusting, bro. Oh, that is disgusting.
As you can tell, everyone seemed to enjoy that river card. Just a reminder, we are 4-handed at the end of the session. We have an under the gun straddle and the button raises to 35. The small blind re-raises and I look down at pocket queens. I'm definitely going to be 4-betting this hand and I make it $250 to go. If anyone has a bigger hand, we're going to be getting it in pre-flop. Me and the player next to me both have really big stacks, which is a little concerning when he cold calls my 4-bet. The other 2 players playing around 1,000 to 1,500. If I get any more action from them pre-flop, I'm going to go with it. But the other 2 players fold and we go heads up to the flop. Now that's the kind of flop you want to see when you have pocket queens. I can bet here and he has to call with all of his overpairs and some of his high card hands. I bet $300, hoping he has something like 10s or 9s and is going to give me a call. He calls, let's see a turn. And that's not the turn we wanted to see. I do actually think that I have the best hand still most of the time, but is he really going to call with, say, pocket 9s if I make a bet here? So I check to him, gives him a chance to bluff, but he checks behind. The river's another king. This doesn't really change much. I don't think he would check a king on the turn. I'm going to go ahead and bet for value, see if we can get called by a hand like pocket 9s or pocket 10s. I bet $575, and now I just pray that he doesn't use the king run out to bluff me, which he may have done last time. And he makes the call. I show my hand. Oh, he's disgusted. Pocket jacks. Yeah, that's definitely a hand that would play that way. I think we made a good bet. When the session was over, I cashed out $9,200 for a $4,000 profit. Man, I could watch this all day long. Please subscribe. That's the only way I know you like these videos.